Hello, honorable members of the clan. So let's go to the Gauteng High Court. As you guys already heard, Miss Maria Elizabeth, what's her name again? The last name I just forgot. She is on the stand. This is the tracker lady that Advocate Baloy has called on the stand on behalf of the red Polo that was driven by Longwe Twala, which I actually found out the information is actually not correct. That red Polo did not belong to Longwe Twala. According to Miss Maria, it belongs to S. Twala. And I'm thinking S. Twala, of course, that will be Chico Twala, Silo Twala, not Longwe Twala. But in my head, I was like, wait a minute, but before we get there, yeah, I know. Anyways, let's leave the elephant in the room. The issue that I am having here is the ownership of the vehicle. We were told that the vehicle was driven by Longwe Twala, therefore belonging obviously to Longwe Twala, because I cannot imagine a whole multi-millionaire by the name of Chico Twala driving a Polo. I mean, this guy will be driving a Range Rover, Mercedes-Benz, BMWs, the latest version in 2014, and so on. So I'm not saying that rich people don't own Polos, but I'm just thinking as a black person, rich like that, because you know what our pattern is when once we get money, we become rich. We go for like German cars, Italian cars, even American cars, than going for a red Polo. That is my thing. I'm not saying it's not possible for him to have owned that car, which now brings me to my suspicion. The vehicle that was driven by Longwe Twala on the 26th of October 2014 is a different Polo. Because the thing is, if the defense had to call for that Polo, I'm just saying, if the defense had to call for that Polo, let's say back then, let's say Longwe Twala was the suspect, he got arrested, and the investigations that are taking place, and they now have to also look for evidence in the vehicle, of course, blood evidence. And of course, blood will all over the floor of the red Polo, which the investigating officers or the ballistic will have to, what do you call this thing? That lights up the blood, that chemical that lights up the blood. Americans, they call it aluminum. Yeah, that one, to check if there's any blood evidence in that vehicle, which I still think that even if they did trace the vehicle, if it still exists, they will not find it on this particular Polo. So I am thinking that a whole new Polo was bought probably in 2014, but the number plate is the same. Just to uglashum kondo type of situation in case investigations are overwhelmingly pointing at Longwe Twala as being the shooter. Again, I'm just thinking, I'm rubbing my two IQs here. I'm not saying this is accurate, it's just my suspicions. The other thing that I also noticed, I thought this Maria lady, Sergeant Maria, she worked for a tracker company, not SAPS. She's a sergeant in the SAPS. She worked at the K9 unit in Soweto and all of that stuff. And of course, she does talk about the affidavit that she was reading in court, which she's currently reading, about the information that is she is basically being led on by Advocate Baloy. She says that this particular affidavit was put together in 2018, January 29th, and it was commissioned in Johannesburg on the same day, 2018, January 29th. I'm still on the Polo and the ownership. I cannot shake that feeling that there is no way. I don't believe that Chico Twala owned a red Polo or driven a red Polo, unless you are telling me he did buy it, but he bought it for the son. But we must also go back to what Chico Twala has been saying lately, that Longwe Twala, his son, has been a druggie for the past 14 years or something like that. No, 25 years. So in 2024, Longwe was still a druggie. And here is a father who is concerned about his child, who is a druggie, goes and buys him a Polo. I don't know, because he seems to be a caring father who says, I would rather have him in jail than have him on the streets and continuing with these substances. But you also buy him a vehicle in your name. That doesn't make sense to me at all. It just doesn't. You put a druggie in a vehicle when they are there, cloud nine. What makes you think they are not going to get involved in a car accident or cause a car accident of innocent people? Clearly, you just don't care about anybody but your son. That is just me, because he was a druggie from what you are saying for the past 25 years. And if you're counting in 2014, he was still a druggie. So basically now she's getting to the meat of the movement of this particular vehicle in question. That is the red Polo, supposedly now belonging to Silo Twala. And it arrives about 2:07 p.m. I'm thinking this is the time probably when Longo Twala finds out that Zandile is in Fosloras. Probably he's been looking for her, as per my hypothesis about what I think happened on the 26th of October 2014. You guys who have been here for the long time, you already know what my story or my hypothesis is as to what I think transpired in Fosloras on the 26th of October 2014, where unfortunately Senzo Meiwa succumbed to his wounds from a gunshot. All right. And then I think I just recorded the time a little bit wrong here. So he arrives around 27 and 1858 on Kutlanong Street. And then around 7, he's still in Fosloras. This is 7 p.m. and the engine of his vehicle is on. And around 1901, he's still in Kutlanong Street, Fosloras. And then the engine is switched off. And then at 20:43 p.m., the car is moving in Kutlanong Street, but the engine is switched off. That shocked me a bit. Well, what does that mean? Those of you who know cars, I thought a car moves when the ignition is on. But please, if you know vehicles, let me, especially if you are a Polo driver, because maybe there's a special feature about Polos that it can actually move without the engine being on. That I found it very interesting, unless I misunderstood. And then at 20:43, the vehicle is still in Kutlanong, but the engine is still off. It's moving in Kutlanong Street, and the engine is still off, guys. Why? What's happening? So just as Sergeant Maria was continuing with her testimony, basically breaking down the movement of this particular vehicle, Mr. Baloy then announces to the court that one of his colleagues is not feeling well and asking for a short adjournment. And then we found out that that is actually Mr. Mngomezulu, who's not feeling well, who asked just for 30 minutes break so that he can recuperate from whatever he is feeling. Of course, the judge asked how long, and then they basically extended it to 11:30 if they can adjourn until 11:30. And that's exactly what Judge Ratha ordered, that the court be adjourned until 11:30. So this is where we're at right now. The court is on a short adjournment to take care of Mr. Mngomezulu, who's not feeling well. I hope he is well and he recovers from whatever is going on. But I also want to say something about this morning, how the defense played Advocate Baloy. They were opposing this application for the current witness on the stand. They come back today simply because there are some several discrepancies that I think we did cover in this, on this channel, yesterday's videos, where we said, but the red Polo is obviously going to show a straight line, Fosloras to Glen Vista. That's what it's going to show. And another thing, Mr. Mngomezulu never said that Longo Twala, upon shooting himself in the ankle allegedly, he went straight to the doctor to remove the bullet on the 26th of October. He said the wound became septic, meaning that the chances are that Longwe allegedly knew what he had done, and he was afraid that if he went to the doctor or hospital to have the bullet removed, that is going to be recorded. And of course, the defense will have to get a court order to get that medical information as part of their defense. So that means he stayed for several days. Because if you have a wound and you are not treating it and there's a bullet launched inside of your body, bacteria is going to start forming around that wound and it's going to become septic. And it's not going to become septic on the same day that the bullet, unless you have a hyperactive bacteria in your body, so much so that you couldn't take the rot that was beginning to happen in your foot or in the wound. So I think that's one of the reasons why the defense said, okay, we withdraw our opposition of Mr. Baloy's application. And I find it quite interesting as well when Judge Ratha said, wise move. And he shows that he's already prepared his order. Of course, the order was going to be in favor of the state that this witness take the stand because, of course, Mr. Baloy used the same precedences or authorities that the judge has dropped on that bench about fair trial, that fair trial is not only for the accused, but also for the state, all those. Of course, he was persuaded, or he persuaded himself to rule in favor of the state. That is why he said wise move. I think, I'm not saying, I'm just thinking, rubbing my two IQs together here. And of course, that was a great play because now Maria is going to be asked very good questions about ownership and also about, was it the same vehicle that was taken, that took Longo Twala to the hospital some days later? Because you need to also go outside of this parameter of the 26th of October 2014. But you also have to look into other days as well. Where did this vehicle go to? And secondly, how would we know that the vehicles were not changed that took Longo Twala to the clinic? Like I also alluded in my videos yesterday that obviously, I mean, they're not going to take the same Polo with blood probably in it, allegedly, to the doctor. They will take either the mother's car or the father's car or the brother's car, because even when they got to the clinic, allegedly, Longo Twala's name, you will not find it there. So I suspect that Mr. Mgomezulu may have the correct AVL of Longo Twala's vehicle, the Polo. That's my suspicion. I'm not sure if that is it, but I think that is why they were like, we're withdrawing the opposing this application. Miss Maria can go ahead and testify. So it's going to be quite interesting. So yeah, let's wait until 11:30 and see how it all proceeds from there, because I'm interested with the meat of this affidavit by Sergeant Maria. I think this is becoming quite interesting. And Longwe got to be called on the stand as well. I think that is also one of the reasons why the defense also withdrew, so that this witness sparks the calling of Longo Twala to the stand and answer for himself. Other than that, I am interested. Before they come back, let me say, let's see each other a little bit later. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe if you like this family, because this is how we get down here. Yeah, sometimes with a spatula, sometimes with a spoon. I don't know where my spoon is, but the spatula, I think it will work. And I'll see you next time. Goodbye.